By the end of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, Yuji has confessed to a massacre he didn't commit. Maki has practically erased the Zenin Clan. Yuta has fought through the deadliest colony in the Culling Game, and Megumi has finally been found by the one sorcerer who might be able to free Gojo. Those sound like victories, but they're not, because every fight inside the Culling Game is generating exactly what Kenjaku needs, and while everyone is desperately trying to save Tsumiki and bring Gojo back, Kenjaku is moving closer to a plan that could transform every person in Japan. So to understand where Season 4 begins, we have to go back to the moment Jujutsu Society realized something terrifying. Gojo was gone, and without him, everything started collapsing. 8 days after Shibuya, Tokyo is drowning in curses. Yuji spends his days hunting them alongside Choso, the same man who nearly killed him before discovering that somehow they are brothers. But Yuji has a much bigger problem. With Gojo sealed inside the prison realm, the higher-ups finally have the freedom to do what they've wanted since the beginning. Execute Sukuna's vessel, and they send Yuta Okkotsu to do it. Yuji doesn't stand a chance. Yuta overwhelms him, drives a sword through his chest, and kills him. Except that was the plan. Before Gojo was sealed, he had asked Yuta to protect Yuji and the other students if anything happened to him. So Yuta volunteered as Yuji's executioner before someone less sympathetic could take the job. He entered a binding vow, promising to kill Yuji, fulfilled it by stopping his heart, then immediately revived him with reverse curse technique. For the higher-ups, Yuji Itadori is officially dead. For Yuji, the nightmare continues, and while he's unconscious, we get one of the strangest reveals of the season. Yuji remembers his parents, and his mother bears the same forehead stitches as the man currently controlling Geto's body, meaning the connection between Yuji, Choso, and the mastermind behind everything goes far deeper than anyone realized. But there isn't time to investigate, because Megumi arrives with another emergency. Tsumiki has been dragged into Kenjaku's next plan, and this one makes Shibuya look like the opening move. The group travels beneath Jujutsu High to meet Tengen, and Tengen finally gives their enemy a name, Kenjaku. For roughly 1,000 years, Kenjaku has experimented with humanity, possessing bodies, creating beings like Choso, and eventually even involving Yuji's own family. But those were experiments. His real objective is much bigger. Kenjaku wants to force humanity into its next stage of evolution by merging Tengen with the entire population of Japan, more than 100 million people becoming a single new existence. The problem? A merger on that scale requires an absurd amount of cursed energy, so Kenjaku created a machine designed to produce it. Not a literal machine, a death game. The Culling Game. Across Japan, massive colonies trap sorcerers inside. Some players are ordinary modern humans whose cursed techniques were suddenly awakened. Others are ancient sorcerers. People Kenjaku made contracts with centuries ago and reincarnated into modern bodies. And now, both groups are being forced to kill each other. Every battle produces cursed energy. Every death pushes Kenjaku's ritual forward, and Tsumiki is one of the players. The rules sound complicated, but only 4 really matter. Awakened players must enter a colony by their deadline, or curse technique removal will likely kill them. Players earn points by killing each other, reach 100 points, and you can propose a new rule. And if your score doesn't change for 19 days, you die. Which means, normal people who were living ordinary lives weeks ago are now being told, kill someone, or eventually be killed by the game itself. Megumi immediately sees the loophole. If they collect enough points, maybe they can add rules allowing players to transfer points, and eventually escape. That could save Tsumiki, but there's another objective. Gojo. Tengen possesses the back of the prison realm. It can't simply be opened, but there is one Culling Game player whose technique can nullify other cursed techniques, an ancient sorcerer known as Angel. Find Angel, and they might finally free Satoru Gojo. So the group splits up. Choso and Special Grade Yuki Tsukumo stay behind to protect Tengen, because Kenjaku's ability to control cursed spirits means Tengen herself could eventually become his target. Yuta enters the Culling Game early to collect points. Yuji and Megumi go looking for suspended 3rd year Kenji Hakari, and Maki heads somewhere much more personal. Home. Maki returns to the Zenin estate expecting to collect cursed tools. Instead, she finds her father, Ogi, and her badly wounded twin sister, Mai. The Zenin Clan has spent Maki's entire life treating her like a failure. She possesses almost no cursed energy. Mai never wanted the sorcerer's life at all, and because twins are treated almost like one existence under Jujutsu rules, Mai's cursed energy has always prevented Maki's heavenly restriction from becoming complete. Now Mai is dying, so she makes one final decision. She uses every last trace of cursed energy between them to create a weapon, and takes all cursed energy with her. Mai dies. Maki is left with 0, and that changes everything, because with absolutely no cursed energy remaining, Maki's heavenly restriction finally reaches its true potential. Her body becomes something terrifyingly close to Toji Fushiguro. The girl the Zenin Clan called worthless walks back out of that room as the strongest thing inside their estate, and then she fulfills Mai's final request: destroy everything. Maki kills her father, then the clan's fighters, then its elite sorcerers. Even Naoya's projection sorcery eventually fails once Maki understands his movement pattern. She catches him and crushes him. But here's the detail to remember: Maki doesn't actually deliver Naoya's final blow. Her mother does, using an ordinary kitchen knife. By the end of the massacre, the Zenin Clan has effectively lost its entire fighting force. One of the big 3 families has been destroyed by the daughter they spent years rejecting. And Gojo's disappearance hasn't just weakened Jujutsu society anymore, it's exposing how rotten the entire system was underneath him. Principal Yaga is also executed by the higher-ups. Maki destroys her clan. Yuji is officially considered dead. The old structure is falling apart, and now the students have to survive without the adults who once protected them. Yuji and Megumi's next target is Hakari. He's been suspended from Jujutsu High and now operates an underground sorcerer fight club. After Yuji literally fights his way into a meeting with him, Hakari eventually agrees to help, along with Karara, and almost immediately the Culling Game changes. A player named Hajime Kashimo spends 100 points to create a new rule, allowing everyone to see other players' names, scores, and colonies. Why? Because Kashimo has already slaughtered dozens of opponents, and he's looking for one person, Sukuna. And here's the problem: Sukuna entered the game through Yuji's body, which means Yuji has technically been registered as a player this entire time. Now the group can see the biggest point holders: Higuruma in Tokyo Colony number 1, Kashimo in Colony number 2, and somewhere inside the game, Angel, so they divide the mission. Hakari goes after Kashimo. Panda searches for Angel. Yuji and Megumi enter Tokyo Colony 1 looking for Higuruma. They walk through the barrier together and are instantly separated, which is where both of them begin changing in very different ways. Yuji eventually finds Hiromi Higuruma. Before the Culling Game, Higuruma was a defense attorney. He believed innocent people deserved someone willing to fight for them, even when society had already decided they were guilty. But after watching the justice system repeatedly fail, something inside him snapped. When his cursed technique awakened, Higuruma killed the judge and prosecutor involved in one of his cases. And since entering the Culling Game, he's killed even more. Yuji needs Higuruma's 100 points. Higuruma refuses, so the lawyer puts Yuji on trial. His domain expansion doesn't begin with violence, it begins with a verdict. His Shikigami judgment accuses Yuji of crimes from his own past. Lose the trial, and Higuruma can confiscate either your cursed technique or cursed energy. Yuji loses the first case. His cursed energy disappears, and suddenly he's fighting a grade 1 level sorcerer with nothing but his physical body. He's getting destroyed, so Yuji demands another trial. And this time, judgment chooses Shibuya, mass murder. The thousands of people killed while Sukuna controlled Yuji's body. Higuruma has evidence proving Sukuna was responsible. Yuji doesn't know that, and more importantly, he doesn't care. He simply says he's guilty. No excuse, no attempt to escape responsibility. Yuji has been carrying those deaths since Shibuya, and deep down, he believes he deserves punishment for failing to stop Sukuna. That confession shocks Higuruma, because the man who lost faith in humanity is now standing in front of a teenager, willingly accepting blame for something that wasn't truly his fault. Higuruma receives the executioner's sword, a weapon capable of killing the condemned with one strike. He could kill Yuji. Instead, he stops. The lawyer who became a murderer remembers why he became a lawyer in the first place: to protect people he believed were innocent. Higuruma gives Yuji the points, and creates the rule allowing players to transfer points between each other. For the first time, the Culling Game can be survived without constantly murdering people. Yuji wins without overpowering Higuruma. He wins because his guilt forces Higuruma to look at himself. But while Yuji is trying to save everyone, Megumi is becoming much more willing to kill. Megumi gets trapped by a group led by reincarnated sorcerer Reggie, and the fight pushes him further than almost anything we've seen before. Megumi expands Chimera Shadow Garden. It's still incomplete, but by using an existing building as the shell of his domain, he compensates for the barrier he still can't create properly. Inside, the 10 shadows become vastly more dangerous. Megumi creates copies of himself, duplicates his Shikigami, turns the entire battlefield into shadow. Reggie nearly crushes him by exploiting one huge weakness. Anything stored inside Megumi's shadow still has weight. but Megumi manipulates the battlefield, tricks Reggie into believing Divine Dog is unavailable, then brings it back at the perfect moment. One attack tears through Reggie. Megumi wins, and the important part isn't just that he's stronger, it's how he wins. Megumi is becoming colder, more deceptive, more willing to kill if that's what saving Sumiki requires. When he later finds the woman who helped lure him into Reggie's trap, he almost kills her too. The only thing that stops him is the memory of his sister. Sumiki is still the line he refuses to cross. Megumi finally collapses from exhaustion, completely defenseless, and of all the people who could find him, it's Angel, the exact sorcerer they need to free Gojo. One objective finally looks within reach, but another battlefield is proving just how terrifying the ancient players really are. While Yuji and Megumi struggle through Tokyo, Yuta Okkotsu enters Sendai, and Sendai is a nightmare. Several of the colony's strongest players have reached a deadlock, including reincarnated sorcerers from completely different eras, and a special grade cursed spirit named Kururushi. Yuta begins breaking that deadlock almost immediately. He eliminates one of the strongest players, which unleashes Kururushi. Yuta kills the cursed spirit using its natural weakness, positive energy from reverse curse technique, but before he can recover, Takako Uro attacks. Uro is an ancient assassin whose technique manipulates the surface of the sky itself, letting her distort space and redirect attacks. Then Ryu Ishigori joins, a sorcerer obsessed with finally finding an opponent capable of satisfying him and possessing monstrous cursed energy output. Suddenly, Yuta is fighting multiple elite opponents with completely different abilities, so he stops holding back. Yuta puts on his ring and fully manifests Rika. For 5 minutes, Yuta gains access to Rika's cursed energy reserves, stored weapons, and copied cursed techniques, and the battle becomes chaos. Uro opens her domain. Ryu opens his. Yuta responds with his own. 3 domain expansions collide, only for Kururushi to interrupt from outside and cause the entire clash to collapse. And once the dust settles, Yuta adapts faster than everyone else. Rika consumes Uro's severed arm, giving Yuta access to her spatial technique. So when Ryu finally challenges Yuta to the direct clash he's wanted, Yuta gives him exactly that. Ryu's raw output is stronger, but Yuta isn't trying to overpower him. He redirects Ryu's own attack, positions him exactly where he needs him, and lets Ryu's own cursed energy come crashing back down. Ryu finally gets the battle he wanted. Yuta wins, and because Higuruma's point transfer rule has already been added, Yuta no longer needs to kill the surviving players. He takes their points instead. By the end of Sendai, Yuta has 190. Yuji has helped create the first life-saving rule. Megumi has found Angel, Hakari is moving toward Kashimo, and the group finally seems to be gaining ground, which is exactly why the ending is so dangerous, because they are getting better at playing Kenjaku's game, while forgetting that Kenjaku designed the game. Every battle, every reincarnated sorcerer, every colony, every point being earned, all of it exists to generate cursed energy for his merger, and Kenjaku is still several moves ahead. Season 3 began, with everyone realizing what the world looks like without Gojo. Yuji went from carrying the guilt of Shibuya to facing that guilt directly. Megumi entered the Culling Game trying to save his sister, but is becoming more ruthless with every fight. Maki went from being rejected by the Zenin Clan to destroying it, and Yuta proved that even against monsters from the past, he belongs among the strongest sorcerers alive. But none of them have actually stopped Kenjaku. Tsumiki is still trapped inside the game. Gojo is still sealed, Angel has only just appeared, Kashimo is hunting Sukuna, and Kenjaku's true endgame is still moving forward, which means Season 4 isn't just about surviving the Culling Game anymore, it's about what happens when the strongest sorcerers of the modern era collide with monsters who have been waiting hundreds of years for another chance to fight. Because Kashimo isn't the only ancient sorcerer obsessed with Sukuna. The Culling Game has resurrected fighters from completely different eras, each with their own techniques, their own unfinished battles, and their own reason for entering Kenjaku's game, and some of them may be powerful enough to challenge the King of Curses himself, which raises one question: who were Sukuna's greatest rivals? And how strong were the most terrifying sorcerers of the ancient world? That's exactly where we go next. In the strongest ancient sorcerers in JJK ranked, Sukuna's greatest rivals,